What you will learn for today is all about deriving the equation of a quadratic function given its graph. But before we start, let's recall about the x and y intercepts because we'll use x-intercept on our lesson for today. So as we defined, the x-intercept is the x-coordinate of the point where the parabola intersect the x-axis. In this point, it is wherein your y is equal to 0. So dito makikita nyo itong point na 'to, tsaka itong point na 'to, both negative 1, 0 and 3, 0 will be having the x-intercept. But the values of x-intercept are only the x-coordinate of those points. So we are just considering negative 1 and 3. So the x-intercept for this given example is negative 1 and positive 3. Same time, the y-intercept is the y-coordinate of the point where the parabola intersects the x-axis. So, this is also the point where your x is equal to 0. Yan. So, in this case, we are just considering the y-coordinate. So, on this point, yan, it is having the point 0, negative 3. We'll just be considering negative 3 as our y-coordinate. So, our y-intercept will be equal to negative 3. So, as we continue, for today, we'll just be focusing on one type of intercept, that is the x-intercept. So as we continue, x-intercept are also called zeros. So it is also the roots of the function. The number of x-intercept indicates the number of solution depending on the given function. Now we have different kinds of graph as we vary different numbers of solutions. At the same time, different numbers of x-intercept. If your graph looks like this one, wherein your parabola intersects your x-axis at 2 points, that means you'll be having two zeros or two x-intercepts. That is also mean that you also have two solutions. But if your graph looks like this one, wherein this parabola intersects your x-axis at only 1 point, that means you only have one intercept or 1, 0. And if your parabola doesn't have any real solution, that is where your parabola looks like this one, it doesn't intersect your x-axis, that means you don't have any zeros or any x-intercept on the given parabola. So let's have a practice wherein we try to identify some of the x-intercept or zeros of the following given graph. So in this case, all you need to do is to focus on the x-intercept. So ito yun, yung makikita nyo dyan na color pink na line. So that is the x-axis. So dyan pala i-focus natin. So as we continue, let's try to zoom in this part. Yan. So, dyan tayo mag-focus. And as we consider the color red line, that is where we will identify the intersection of your parabola and your x-axis. So, at this point, that will be on the point negative 4, 0 and positive 2, 0. That is where your parabola intersects that x-axis. And all you need to do to identify the x-intercept is to identify the x-coordinate of those points. So that will be the x-intercept or zeros of the following will be negative 4 and positive 2. Gets po? Okay, let's continue. Let's have another example. Okay, we have here another graph that is opening upward. So all we need to do is to identify the x-intercept. So to identify, once again, let's focus on this line, which is the x-axis. Yan. So as we focus and zoom in this part, this is where your graph or the parabola intersect the x-axis. So dito sa point na yan. And that will be also the vertex of your parabola. And that point is around 2, 0. So in this case, to identify the value of x-intercept, all you need to do is to focus on the x-coordinate of that point, and that will only be 1. Because your parabola only intersects once the x on the x-axis, that means we only have one x-intercept or 0 on this parabola. So that is 2. 2 only. Wala na siyang ibang kasama na value kasi isang beses lang siya nag-intersect ng x-axis. Okay, let's consider another example. So we have here this parabola facing downward. So once again, let's try to focus on the x-axis and as well as the parabola given. So zoom in natin. So as you can see on this given parabola, it doesn't intersect your x-axis. That means, do you have any x-intercept or zeros? Yan. So the answer is none. Kasi hindi naman siya tumama or walang point na nag-intersect doon sa parabola tsaka dito sa ating x-axis.